Lead the symphony of machine and mind. Chapter 1. The Integration. In the quiet hum of the Neo-Athens research hub, Solon stood before a shimmering wall of data. He was a man who saw the world in structures and sequences, believing that logic was the bedrock of all progress. Beside him, Sina adjusted her glasses, her eyes tracing the fluid, almost organic movements of the interface. She saw the data not as rigid lines, but as a living tapestry of human intent. The architecture of the future isn't built of steel, Solon remarked, his voice steady and professional. It is built of the 2.5 quintillion bytes of data we generate daily, now processed by an intelligence that never sleeps. Sina nodded, adding softly, "But remember, Solon, a loom is useless without the weaver's dream." They were here to witness the first phase of the Synergy Initiative. In this new era, AI was no longer a distant tool, but a collaborative partner. As Sina reached out to touch a node of light, the system responded not with a command, but with a suggestion, a subtle shift in the color spectrum to highlight an overlooked correlation. This was the first lesson of Synergy. AI is a mirror, reflecting our biases but also our potential. "Science tells us that AI excels at pattern recognition," Sina whispered. "But it lacks the felt experience of a sunset. Our task is to marry the calculation to the sensation." Chapter 2. The Cognitive Canvas. Solon took the lead in the second module, focusing on the precision of their joint efforts. He manipulated a complex architectural model, his movements mirrored and enhanced by the system's predictive algorithms. Stephen Hawking once said that intelligence is the ability to adapt to change, Solon noted, his hands moving with surgical precision. He showed Sina how the AI could simulate 1,000 years of structural wear in seconds, an unexpected fact that allowed them to design for eternity rather than just the present. This was the practical reflection they sought, using speed to buy time for human contemplation. Sina joined him, and together they began to layer aesthetic soul into the machine's structural perfection. They were co-designing a community center intended to foster empathy. As Solon managed the load-bearing calculations, Sina introduced variables of light and shadow based on psychological well-being. The synergy gouache of their workspace reflected this, a blending of rigid blueprints and soft, watercolor-like washes of emotion. They realized that the true power of human-AI synergy lay in this heuristic harmony, where the machine provided the how and the human provided the why. Chapter 3. The Ethical Compass. The narrative shifted as they moved into the medical diagnostic wing. Sina looked at a series of complex neural scans. Here, the stakes were high, and the lessons were personal. She observed how the AI could identify a microscopic anomaly far faster than any human eye, yet it couldn't comfort a frightened patient. "The tool does not replace the hand, it extends the reach," she reflected, quoting an old craftsman's proverb. She understood that in the synergy of the future, the human role would shift from doer to curator of care. Solon joined her, analyzing the ethical frameworks programmed into the system. He wrestled with the black box problem, the difficulty of understanding how an AI reaches a specific conclusion. He realized that transparency was not just a technical requirement, but a moral imperative. "To lead the machine, we must first understand ourselves," Solon mused. He began documenting the decision-making pathways, ensuring that for every leap of logic the AI took, there was a human footprint nearby to verify the path. Chapter 4. The Shared Harvest. The two moved to the environmental sector, where the synergy was being used to heal the planet. They stood before a panoramic view of a reclaimed wasteland. Solon pointed out the sensors the AI managed, monitoring soil pH and moisture levels in real time. Sina talked about the community-led planting initiatives that used this data to decide which heritage seeds to sow. This was the symbiotic harvest, a professional realization that technology, when guided by ecological wisdom, could restore what industrialization had broken. As the sun began to set, Sina looked at the data logs. She saw an unexpected fact. The local biodiversity had increased by 40% since the synergy began. She felt a surge of professional pride. This wasn't just about efficiency, it was about flourishing. She realized that her role was to be the voice of the Earth within the digital conversation, ensuring that the AI's goals remained aligned with the flourishing of all life forms. Chapter 5. The Boundless Horizon. Solon stood alone for a moment in the central spire, looking at the city below. He thought about the journey they had taken. They had moved from fear of replacement to the excitement of augmentation. He understood now that the future was not a destination, but a practice, a daily commitment to navigating the complexities of a hybrid world. The greatest risk is not that machines will begin to think like men, he thought, but that men will begin to think like machines. Sina joined him at the window, and they watched the stars emerge. The journey of human-AI synergy was just beginning. It required constant learning, ethical vigilance, and, above all, the courage to dream bigger than a processor could calculate. They turned to each other, ready for the next scenario, the next challenge, and the next discovery. The symphony was playing, and they were the conductors. The path was clear. We do not walk behind the machine, nor do we let it walk behind us. We walk together.